Rian Johnson, the writer-director of The Last Jedi. Mark Hamill, you know him as Luke Skywalker. Ridley, Ray. Adam Driver, Kylo Ren. Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron. John Boyega, Finn. Kelly Marie Tran, the new character, Ruri Kudo. Laura Dern, who plays Admiral Holdo. Donald Gleason, General Hux. Gwendolyn Christie as Captain Phasma. And Andy Serkis as himself. Welcome to the press conference, guys. Thank you all for being here, joining together in one place to talk about this movie, which you guys have seen, but they have not. But they have a lot of questions for you. I don't know if it's so much a moral of the story, but Ryan, one of the things that you and I have talked about is that a theme that's throughout the movie, all the different storylines, is the perils of meeting your hero and living up to expectations. Is that one thing that maybe connects to her?
That's definitely one of the things, yeah, in it. I mean, it's, you know, I think these movies to some extent are always about, I don't know, to really boil it down, it's, you know, if you look back at Lucas kind of, you know, famously drawing from the hero's journey myth that Joseph Campbell wrote about. And the hero's journey is not about becoming a hero, it's not about becoming Hercules, it's about really adolescence. It's about the transition from childhood into adulthood and finding your place in the world. And you have these new powers that you're feeling inside yourself for the first time. You don't know what to do with them. You don't know who you're going to get help from, who's going to be unreliable, who's not. Navigating those very tricky waters that we all have to navigate. That's why it's so universal. So part of that is you know, your relationship to heroes and people you thought were your heroes, people you don't expect to become your heroes. And that's definitely something that plays out in this film.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Mark? Having played the young farm boy who becomes a hero and now returning to that character all these years later, what journey, without obviously giving it away, but what arc is left for a guy who's been through what Luke Skywalker's been through?
I don't think any line in the script epitomized my reaction more than this is not going to go the way you think. And Ryan pushed me out of my comfort zone as if I weren't as intimidated and terrified to begin with. But I'm grateful because you have to trust someone, and he was the only Obi-Wan available to me, not only in my choices as an actor, but my choices in sockwear.
Oh!
Well, I was so embarrassed. I looked at my drab black socks and I said, "Curse you, Rian Johnson. I'll get my revenge."
You have learned well, young.
You have a really nice blue sweater, though.
Oh, thanks.
Well, not on right now.
Oh, okay. It's on, it's going back Monday.
All right, let's take another question. Yes, Geek Girl Diva.
Hi there. Hi. So, Laura mentioned this a bit, talking about that you felt it was more of a kind of an indie film sort of feel. And there's been a lot of questions, I'm just going to throw this to anyone, there's been a lot of conversation and questions about how this is like the other movies. What I want to know is, how is it for you, how is it different than any of the other movies?
It's longer.
Not much longer, not much longer.
I'm not asking for spoilers or anything, but just how did it feel different?
As an actor, I would much more easily draw comparison of similarity, because like, I mean, I'm sort of just speaking for me that I was like real new to this all, and it was first film and all that sort of stuff. And people, I've done smaller films now this year, and I'm like, genuinely it feels the same. Like the sets tend to be smaller, we're shot in Prague instead of London, but like it genuinely, it's a small, not a small feeling, but it's like that family thing. So going into something could have been really scary, and being surrounded by people that make you feel really comfortable for me is like the only thing you can ask for, because you can only do what you can do. But if you're in a really safe environment, then you're able to do more. And coming back, like, it really felt, it was different obviously in ways, because the story is different, the characters are being challenged in different ways, but the crew was similar. Ryan, I think it says a lot about Ryan and our first Jamie actually, like how a set is run is so incredibly important. And what JJ and Tommy did first time around, Ryan and Jamie did this time, it's just a really happy set that everyone feels, I think, heard and respected. And so just like in an acting sense, taking everything away, I think the same feeling was captured of love and of everyone trying to work together to make this thing that hopefully other people will love. So I think, to me, like in a more emotional way, I think it did feel more similar than different.
Fantastic, thank you.
Hi, I'm Juan Fernandez from Nuevo Dia, Puerto Rico. I wanted to ask the director, to see you at the celebration and all the things that you participated, to see that you're a fan. So I wanted to know, at what moment as a filmmaker, whether it was in the screenwriting process or shooting something, did you feel a transition from fan or felt ownership as a filmmaker of the Star Wars movie that you were making?
Oh, I keep waiting for that moment to happen. Even standing up here, I see the big Star Wars behind me, and I'm like, oh, do I belong under this? Yeah, it feels very, there's no like eureka moment where it's like, now I'm doing it. You're always riding that line between feeling like you're a fan who snuck in the back gate and is getting away with something, which I think is probably a good thing. I'm actually curious, I'd be curious to hear John, just because you're the biggest fan I know in the world.
I'm still trying to get over it, I can't lie. Because I think what we forget is that when we filmed Force Awakens, it was about 2 years between then and before we started on Last Jedi, and we went off, obviously, to do other stuff. And then when you come back, it just feels like you're back in school, you know? And it's fun. Every day was a new set. The practical effects, I think, like doubled on this movie. The sets were bigger, and it's always exciting and amazing. But as everybody has said, you still feel an intimacy when you're doing these scenes, you know, and independent with a big budget. You know what I mean?
Big ass, but.
A big ass, but.
Anyone else want to?
I love, Oscar, how you described yesterday all of us watching the roll at the top as the lights went down.
Yeah.
And even though all of us feel giddy that we're excited about being part of this, suddenly you're an obsessed fan regardless.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
We're going to take one more question. Jermaine?
Oh my God.
Hey everyone. Obviously the death of Han Solo is a huge moment in The Force Awakens, and I'm wondering how impactful is that, without spoiling anything, to the characters who knew him in the last movie and the previous films?
I think we're just keeping it moving, to be honest with you, man. Yeah. It's true. The pressure's on, man. You know, there's no time. I think that's the one thing that's unique to me about watching this movie was just the commentary on war. I think there hasn't been a Star Wars movie yet that has explored war in the way The Last Jedi does. It's very messy. The categorizing of good and evil is all mixed together. So you know, in terms of Han, there's no, you know, I'm sure we all feel sentimental if someone wants to sit Finn down or sit Rey down, but Rey's off training, she's got stuff to do. I've got a back injury, I've got stuff to do. I can't think about Han at the moment. He done. So.
I think it's reverberating, but he's right. You know, it's a dire situation. It's critical. The resistance is on its last legs. You know, we're trying to survive. First Order's right on top of us. You know, everything is like war, where you got to just keep moving to try to survive. And so you feel, I think, the momentum of everything that happened in The Force Awakens just pushing and getting to a critical mass in this film.
I will interject there, and I think this is the beauty of having storylines that are sort of happening in tandem and affecting each other. Because I would say that Rey, at least, is very much affected by it, and I think, like in the. What did I say? What did I do? In the first, like Rey as a character has been alone for a really long time, and she's really open to like love and friendship. So Finn and BB-8 come along, and it's like this amazing adventure. And then Han, like without trying to, she seeks something from him because there's an intimacy and there's a sort of figure of something she's never dreamed of for her that gets, you know, snatched away. And she's understanding, everything's new to her, so she's understanding things in a different way. And luckily for me, because I was trying to get to grips with everything going on, and then Rey's trying to get to grips with everything going on. So for Rey, at least, there is some time. Everything's moving forward, but she has some time to ask questions and wonder what it is that leads people to, would have led someone to do something like that, and also how that directly affects the world around her. Because yeah, and then she, you know, she's worried about Finn at home, so I would say she's maybe a little more affected, at least emotionally on screen than the other.
I just want to say one thing, going back to one of the things about the question about, you know, the strong women in it, because I think as a guy, I'd like to say that for me, the most formative people in my life have been women. And so that has shaped my destiny so much. And so to see that reflected in the film is really, really a beautiful thing. So, and it is more true to real life and what's happening now, but what's always happened, which is, you know, they're the ones, you know, that shape you.
Leading the way.
Yeah.
Well, speaking as the leader of the First Order, I have to say that Snoke is very unimpressed. The fact that there is such a huge female force that seems to be growing in the universe. It's threatening, it's deeply undermining, it's got to be stopped, it cannot go on. And this we see, without giving too much away, a little snatch of in this movie.
Snoke-splaining. I'm going to wrap up the press conference. Going back to Jenna's great question about women in this film and female characters in Star Wars in general. Well, for a long time when I was growing up, there was really only one character, and that was Princess Leia, now General Leia. And of course, Carrie Fisher isn't here with us today, except probably in spirit, giving everyone the finger from back there. But I wanted to ask the women in this film about the impact that Princess Leia had on generations of young girls who were watching these movies, even though there wasn't a whole lot of variety for them. I think this is a character that spoke to them, and Gwendolyn, speaking as one of the idols of the bad girls, as Captain Phasma. What role did Leia play in your life as a young Star Wars fan?
Well, she was very significant because I was first shown A New Hope when I was 6, and I remember thinking, wow, that character's really different. I watched TV and film obsessively from such a young age, but it stayed with me throughout my formative years of, she's really interesting, she's really smart, she's really funny, she's courageous, she's bold, she doesn't care what people think, and she isn't prepared to be told what to do. And she doesn't look the same as a sort of homogenized presentation of a woman that we had been used to seeing. So that was really instrumental to me as someone that didn't feel like they fitted that homogenized view of what a woman was supposed to be, that there was inspiration there, that you could be an individual and celebrate yourself and be successful without giving yourself over, without necessarily making some sort of terrible, huge compromise. So it was a big inspiration for me. And, you know, to play a character as well from what we've seen in The Force Awakens, I was very excited when I was shown just the basic element of the costume. And here we were seeing a character whereby a woman her femininity was not delineated in terms of the shape of her body, in terms of her physical attractiveness, those elements, that weird random group of elements which we're born with. It's some kind of odd lottery and then we're judged on in society. And I was just delighted to be able to have that opportunity.
Any other thoughts? Laura, how about you? Do you have any thoughts on the impact of Carrie Fisher and Princess Leia in pop culture?
Well, endless.
thoughts, and also you know, a profound impact that she made on me as a girl. I mean, spoken so beautifully by Gwen, so I'll just speak to this present experience to say that as we always had with Carrie, not just Leia, her wisdom, and you know, people speak about people who are brave or fearless, but beyond that, I've known, luckily, a few people that would hold those descriptions, but not that they would be without shame. And that's what moved me the most about the icon she gave us, but also what she gave us individually and personally, which is to carry who she was so directly, and to be without shame, and to share her story, and to expect nothing less from any of us. And the privilege of watching how Ryan has so beautifully captured all of that, and her grace, and this amazing, beautiful, pure performance. But also, I think she found an equal irreverent, subversive, and they had this dance that gives us this performance that I was just so moved by.
Well, how about Daisy and Kelly? Any thoughts on the legacy of Leia and Carrie?
I don't think I can really follow that, except to just say if Carrie's daughter Billy is, I think, all of those qualities. She's smart and funny and shameless and wonderful. And I think Carrie bringing up a daughter, obviously with Ryan, bringing up a daughter who is all of those qualities and then some in this world, if that's what she did, you know, just her being her, I think it speaks volumes to what she did as her in the spotlight, and also her as Leia.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that was said. I think that something about Carrie that I really look up to is, and something I didn't realize until recently, was just how much courage it takes to truly be yourself when you're on a public platform, or when possibly a lot of people will be looking at you. And she was so unapologetic and so openly herself, and that is something that I am really trying to do, and it's hard. And just like Daisy said, like Laura said, like Gwendolyn said, I think that she will always be an icon as Leia, but also as Carrie. What an example, you know? And I am so fortunate to have met her, and I think that she will really live on forever.
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for all the wonderful questions, audience. The cast of Star Wars, The Last Jedi, and we'll see the movie very soon.
Very soon.
Very soon. Thank you, guys.